again, tinfoil hat, because I don't want to scare anybody. But like, if you look at the cost of like living and houses and everything else, it's like, I'm like, are we heading in that direction? I don't know. Like, I can't predict the future, so I'm just like, speculating
just
here.
Universal income me and move me to the slums, I guess.
Basically.
Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice. But here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Bobby Davis, Paul Bratzlavsky, and Sarah Kimmel.
Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast, the tech podcast where we talk about everything from AI breakthroughs to VR's new realities. Glad you could join us this week to discuss how technology is reshaping our world. I'm Kevin Doyle, and this week I'm joined by Sarah Kimmel, Bobby Davis, and Paul Bratzlavsky. Coming up in this episode, Apple is reported to be in talks with Google to use Gemini for its upcoming iPhone 16. Nvidia has powerful new AI chips on the way. Could your future smartphone be powered by nuclear technology? And we'll wrap up with our null, not null recommendations section. Before we jump into today's stories, I had AI write as a song. So I thought we'd have a listen to it here. So it wrote as a song, it performed everything, it wrote the thing, it's based on the prompt, a heartfelt ballad about the Not Null podcast. And here's how it went.
I tune in every week to the Not Null Podcast, listening to the hosts as they share their minds so fast. They tackle tough topics with humor and insight. Their voices like a soothing balm, bringing comfort in the night. Oh, not enough. Speak to my soul with your stories and your wisdom. You make me feel whole. With laughter and tears, you touch my heart. Thank you for the moments, for being apart.
I'll stop it right there. Well, I'll just wipe a tear away. Sorry.
Well, I was just getting my flashlight out to hold it up, So,
Oh my goodness. That's it.
So
done.
So what do you think? My
We're
favorite
done.
line, by the way, the old not null, you speak to my soul. It's so good.
Yep.
So what do you think? Is this good?
We're
bad?
done. That's it. No
I
artists, no
liked
musicians.
the voices soothing you to sleep. I mean, we just have that kind of impact. I mean, hopefully you're not falling asleep during our podcast.
I like that it gives us like credit too that our minds are so vast. Like, how does it know?
Well, it knows. Yeah.
We just need a Justin Timberlake cover now.
I don't know. I think this could be better.
This is our new intro. I get it.
That's it. New intro song inbound. Okay, first story of the week. Let's talk about Apple. And Apple being in talks with Google to use Gemini for the iPhone 16. So this was reported by Bloomberg that Apple is in talks to license Gemini, that is Google's LLM AI model, for some features on the next iPhone. They also held talks with OpenAI, apparently, as well. So this isn't a done deal with Google, but they are looking for a third party to provide them with an LLM for the next iPhone. So the next iPhone is iPhone 16, should be released in September, just as every other year the iPhone has been released in September for the last I don't know how many. We're likely to hear about this in June. So the Worldwide Developer Conference is in June, and that's where all the latest iOS features get talked about. So what are we on to? iOS 18 is where we'll be at. So this could be a feature of that. So this is when we'll hear like who they're using, I guess, and which company they've partnered with. They have already partnered with Google prior to this. This isn't the first time they've partnered. Don't forget, we've talked about this here before. We've talked about Google Search being on the iPhone and the fact that Google paid millions to Apple. So this is one of those like, hey, we'll pay you millions to do this and you can pay us millions for having an AI. Or maybe this just washes out, right? They're just like, they make an agreement. I don't know what happens here, but is there any money exchanging hands? Who knows? I'm sure there is for tax reasons. Gemini already powers the Samsung S24 devices, so it's the same LLM that's on Samsung for this year. So that's interesting, as Sarah has right there. So Apple is still working on AI models, apparently. They have not abandoned this, but maybe the work that they're doing there either isn't good enough or they're not getting there quick enough. So, Sarah, why do you think we're seeing Apple go with Google or OpenAI, as we don't know yet, either one of their models on their next device?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it's just lack of time. Like they need to get it released. And I know we talked, several months ago that like we think Apple's like, 4 or 5 years out from like a decent AI model. And this is going to be the really only way they can like keep up with the competition who's already, done. I've already got it, right here. And this is how they're going to get there. And I think, for as much as I like diss on Apple, I think they're smart in the fact where they know they can't do search great. Apple Maps is hit and miss, so they allow Google Maps finally and things like that. So they know kind of where their limitations are. And I think it's smart for them to like go out and get the best that they can to put on their phones so that they can get it out quicker.
It's not like they can't afford it, right? Whatever it's going to cost, they can certainly afford it. And I'm sure, Google knows that yeah. They know that. They know what they're paying to have search on the phones. We're talking multiple millions to be on the phone every year for them to be the device on the, to be the search engine on the phone. So, we're talking a lot of money for this. I'm sure licensing for this for whatever it is, 8 billion devices or whatever it is that Apple has that this is going to go on. It's not going to come cheap, but we know they have the money for it. But I'm with you. I agree. I think it's a time thing. I think they're like, hey, we need it in the next phone. We don't have enough time to make it. Let's just buy it.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other theories?
I think that they're seeing a decline in iPhone sales worldwide. I think the U.S. still dominates the market, but when they look at a worldwide number, with Android being all of these phones glopped together, they're losing out. They had some declines in China, and I think there's a real threat to their phones. So you got to realize that the iPhone still is like 58% of their gross revenue. So like I think they made $70 billion on iPhones last year. So like first quarter this year, but like there's still like if they don't have a great image editing, they don't have a good AI thing. When the new Samsung devices come out at the end of the year and they're still not there, people could switch to an S25 or whatever that is. A Pixel has it. Mm-hmm. Now the low end ones probably don't have it, but that's not the market they're in. They're not in the low end market. So they have to win in the US and in Europe. They have to. So that's where you're selling the high end devices. And if they're not at the highest end, it could spell trouble for them. So
I agree. I mean, you know me, I'm in the Apple ecosystem. I have Apple everything. Yeah. The watch, the phone, the iPad, I literally have one of everything, right? The laptop, the whole thing. Like the ecosystem to me is great. I love it because the interoperability between them, data-wise and account-wise and everything, I just absolutely love. But if the next iPhone doesn't have the AI stuff that I want to mess with, I'm seriously going to look at another phone. Can I keep the ecosystem and just have a different phone? Yeah, I could. And I would definitely look at it. But it seems like they're going to do something. So they've said that this is for some features on the phone. So I don't know which features we're talking about. My guess is maybe they're able to polish some features to the point where internally where they're good. Maybe the photography features. I'm guessing they're good on that. They've always been good on that stuff. But maybe the generative LLM part isn't very good, like the type ahead or that kind of stuff that uses AI. Maybe they need help with that. I can see that's where this gets kind of plugged in. So I don't think it's the only AI we see on the phone. I just think it's part of it. And I think it's clearly some features that they need to be able to say, yes, we have that too. Just like Samsung had it.
Because the other part of their business is services. And so like the thing they run, if you're not using an iPhone, guess what? You're not in the iTunes Music Store. Yep. You may be on Apple Plus TV, but like there's these services that run a risk too if you're not using their devices. So they do have to get this right. And even though I'm not an iPhone user, I'm glad they exist because at least keeps Samsung somewhat like we can't make this phone $3,000. If it wasn't an iPhone, they would.
I don't know. They keep trying. It is a race to the top. Let's talk about one of the most valuable companies currently in the world. So let's talk about Nvidia. Nvidia are currently, do you know this? Nvidia are currently the third most valuable company in the US, behind only Apple and Microsoft. If you'd have
That
told
was
me this,
insane.
like,
Yeah.
right?
I
If you'd have told me this
could not
5 years
believe
ago,
that.
I'd have been like, the
I
graphics
had no
card
idea.
guys?
Right.
Yeah.
Really?
Those ones?
What happened to AMD? Was there a boom for graphics cards? There was this AI thing happened. So turns out they have an 80% market share in AI chips. Like, that's insane. And that's like that's domination. Nobody has that market share on anything. Like, that's so high. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So, not content with that 80% market share where they currently sit and the booming stock, which is 5x'd since AI came out, which is insane. Not happy with that. At this year's, what they have an Nvidia developer conference, they announced a new, what they are calling physics-defying AI chip, which we'll talk about in a second. I put that in quotes for those of you listening. This is called the Blackwell chip. It's going to be the GB200. This is the successor to the currently wildly successful and hard to get H100 GPU. But these guys are selling out of what they currently have, and they're like, are we content with that and just make more of that? No. We'll make a brand new one. A brand new one that is a 4 times faster at AI training performance. 208 billion transistors on this thing, looking like it's going to ship later this year for $30,000 to $40,000 a pop per chip. The machines that it goes in are like 20. So I forget what the price was. $200,000, I think.
$200,000.
Yeah, for one of the machines that it uses. Kind of nuts. They've claimed that it was $10 billion research and development for one of these chips. That's nuts.
Totally consumer grade for sure.
Oh yeah. We're gonna have these. Yeah, we're gonna be running, Call of Duty on these things on our home PCs here soon. I'm sure.
I was going to say, can it run Crysis like that?
On Ultra? No.
Yeah,
No,
can't do
that's not gonna happen.
it.
I like it. So, Bobby, what do you think? Are Nvidia about to take over? Are they going to take over Apple and Microsoft at this
I
point?
think they could surpass Apple. I don't think they can pass Microsoft. The reason being that their primary customer, at least one of them, is Microsoft. And so Microsoft's going, and if you're selling to the company that's upselling it, Microsoft will always make more money doing this. They also, I don't know when this boom will stop, but eventually will. And then I do believe that another competitor has to enter this market. There's no way if you're Intel, you're like, maybe we should do this AI thing. Maybe we could get some of that $1 trillion money.
Yeah, the market at this point is proven. One company owns 80% of it, and it's billions, and their stock is 5x'd. Like, how much more like proof to Intel need that this is a market they need to be in?
And AMD, so I know they don't make those kinds of chips, but Well,
they do though. AMD makes graphics cards. They make a Radeon series of graphics, so they technically have the ability. I'm sure. Maybe they just don't have the money to R&D it. $10 billion to make one of these. I don't know.
Yeah, they'll just back up a truck of money to over there and hire a bunch of people out of Nvidia, and then rebuild it. So that's what I think. I don't think they can stay. They're going to make lots of money. And full disclosure, I own stock in Nvidia, so I want it to go as high as it can go right now. But like, it's pretty amazing what they've done, and this is like recent. This isn't like the stock was trading, I think, less than 6 months ago at $500, and now it's closing in on 1,000 as we write this. And so it's amazing what they've done, and it just shows you that AI, as me and Kevin were talking, we're seeing history in the making of, like, you're living through a shift. Like, when the web was in 97, you don't realize that you're living in history at that point.
Yeah.
And you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was kind of cool, And so we're living through this shift right now. And so as we get AI into everything, everyone's going to be buying these server farms and putting it in there. Where's the bubble? I have no idea, but like, it's going to go up and up and up until they get a competitor.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like anyone's even close.
Yeah. They're improving on what is already great. That's the thing. They're not content with sitting with what they already have. They're like, no. We'll defy physics. Which, yes, they have said this chip somehow defies physics. I'm not a. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a physics expert or anything, but my guess is it doesn't. This guy is a great salesman.
Good marketer.
Yeah, he's a very, very, very good marketer. This guy is here to sell us these chips. Hence his comments about physics-defying chips, his comments around developers are no longer needed. This guy is here to sell chips. That's it. I don't think he believes these things, but he's good at his job.
The crazy thing is, like, I mean, they're leading the way, and it's like almost whoever is in the market first will continue to dominate. And it's like, what does this mean for the future? You know, it's like, who controls the AI controls the world. Like, I don't know what is it's like, seriously, you know?
It's true. It's
Where's
true
John
because
Connor?
these, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, these chips are going to go in everything, aren't they? Seemingly, this is the new. I mean, this is the new thing that everybody's going to need to basically power. This is like the equivalent of, I don't know, like the invention of the modem, right? It's like it's the new thing that you need in order to do this thing. And right now, there's one company making them. That's crazy.
Crazy
and only
thing.
5 companies are buying them. I mean, that's the other
Right,
thing.
everyone's buying them, but but who cares what they do? Like, there's one company always profiting off it, and it's Nvidia.
Yeah,
because they're selling to Meta, Amazon, Facebook. I mean, Microsoft, Apple. That's their biggest customers.
So the crazy thing here is that, you know, it's the big companies that have the resources to play the AI game. And I'll give you an example. As a solo developer, I had this like novel idea, but like, I'm not going to find like a, you know, like a angel investor to sell my idea. I don't even know if my idea is good, but
pitch it, Paul, go for it. You might get one from here.
It's too late. I already saw an application that was created by it. And I was just like, man, like, I know they trained their own model. They did all this stuff. I'm like it, like whoever's in first, they will dominate the market. And so like, even though like I had a good idea, the fact that I didn't act on it and didn't like create the thing first, it's like I missed the boat. But it is interesting because I feel like moving forward, as majority of people, they're going to be consuming somebody else's service. And it's going to be like the Microsofts, the Googles, the Metas. But as me, as Paul, like I'm not going to create my own service. I don't have the resources to play the AI game at the scale that they do. And so we're always going to be like on the, you know, basically relying on them. It's like they're going to be our water and our food, if you like to put it in that statement. It's like, and what does that mean? Like, if like, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but imagine 1984 and my social score went down for whatever reason. And now I can't like talk to my AI assistant because, you know, Nvidia lords decided that I'm not, you know, like that's it, cut me off. It's like,
I think the way it is right now, you're right. We're never gonna, well, at this point in time, we're not gonna own this kind of hardware, right, at home.
No,
you joked about putting it in like an RTX card away. We're not going, and we may in the future, maybe these come down to a point where this is the technology, but we're talking about a decade away probably for it to be affordable. So right now, as an average person though, the only way that we can use this technology is through cloud, right? We can rent one of these from Amazon. We can rent time on one of these chips from Amazon, right? And that's the way it's going to work for now, or through Google or whatever it is. So we have access to it technically, but we're kind of renting it through somebody else who, of course, are marking it up and they're investing whatever it is, $200,000 in the machine. They're getting that back in like days at this point. I'm sure they really are. The amount of people that need access to this stuff that want to build apps with AI, you have to use their cloud services to build it in.
And I think our job, Paul, as developers is, you know, they provide like the basic ingredients for doing something, but we're going to the ones that's going to make the milkshake on top of this thing. So like they may give us the milk and the ice cream, but we got to blend it together and make something cool with it. And I think that's the opportunity that there's going to be a lot of fortunes made built on top of this stuff. Now underneath it, just like the internet revolution, you know, Cisco made mint while that was coming out, all the routers and firewalls and everything that when they're putting the internet together, this is the same thing. The infrastructure, the backbone's being built out for AI. And whether that's Azure, at least for us, we have competition with AWS, Google, and Azure. And there'll be some other players that'll come up that give us a way to train a model, you know, and use it in the service in the cloud. But maybe we'll get it to run on chip eventually, you know, because that's, you got to realize too, today you can go to an Office Depot and buy like a 32 port, you know, 10 gigabit switch for, you know, $200, where before that was like a good $1 billion, you know, to do something like that in the 2000s.
To me, the way I look at it, it's like the only way you could participate and benefit from it is if you're, like you said, creating services based on the products that they're creating, or you're investing in the companies. And if you're not doing those two things, you're like, you have no way to play. Like you really don't. Like you're not going to benefit from this AI, you know, boom that a lot of these folks are experiencing on the corporate level as an individual, unless you own part of the company. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's kind of interesting that the people with the resources, they're the ones that are able to take advantage of it at the level where they're making the millions. They're making the billions. Like, for instance, you look at, we talked a lot about like people selling their data, like from Reddit, it's like people added that content, but the companies get to benefit from it. And then we pay on top of it. And so to me, it's almost like, it's like they have to take advantage of it, but for our normal human beings, like you're not partaking in this revolution outside of paying for the services, building products with the services. And if you're like, well, how do I get my cut of this? Well, invest in the companies. That's the only way in my mind. Like,
well, some ways, like I do believe someone's going to win in this marketing automation space, where like I want to create a thumbnail, I want to create a title, and there's like a million of those out there. Someone's going to win in that space and make a ton of money over the next 5 years. And there's going to be some other thing that we haven't thought of yet that someone's going to build, and like, it's a good idea. Like, I wish I'd thought of that.
Right.
I could have built that, and so that's the way I look at a lot of things, like, still, I think CMSs are still going to be relevant, but can we integrate AI into that CMS? Can we help them write articles? Can we help them write content? And you can see with the release from Microsoft yesterday, and I was telling this Kevin today, is smart components. Now down to the component level, when I'm writing a thing, I can just literally hook up OpenAI back to this component and have a rich text edit. And I don't even have to prompt it anymore. It goes out and says, here's what you should put in this text edit based on the field it's attached to. It's getting to be easier to do. And it allows you to be creative in the apps you build. So for a coder, it's good. But you're right. On the trillion level, that's already been decided. There's like 8 or 10 companies that are going to win here. There may be one other surprise player that comes out of this that we didn't realize.
I just think that, these corporations are basically controlling all the magic boxes that we as individuals, majority, when I speak, like 90% of the world, we won't know how they work, but we will rely on their services. And so we're kind of having this relationship where we have to rely on the things that we don't know how they work. And we have to trust in these corporations that they have their best interest in us. And that to me is like scary, but at the same time, like what can we do? Like you can't.
Yeah.
Do we think there's a similar opportunity here for the every person, right? As there was with the internet, right? So the internet came around, and yes, there was a lot of like the people owned the backbone, right? It was AT&T and whatever, and all these companies owned the backbone, Cisco, whatever, for the hardware. A lot of companies made a lot of money, but then for the everyday person, they had an opportunity to not only just build applications as a developer, but then also use it to make money too. You could open a store, you could write a blog, you could use social media to make money. You could go on Instagram and have a following and make money. Do we think there's a similar thing here with AI for the every person? Is there an equivalent of that?
I hate to dominate this, but let me just say what I think. In the internet, we were looking at business models and we said, okay, here's this business model that's paper. Let me put that on the web. I think now what your mind has to shift from and say, what can a person do and how do I automate what they do? And so like, that's the thing where they're going to vertically integrate a person into some kind of piece of software. What do they do? And that's what AI says the promise that we can do, which means that I have a marketing person. Can I make the marketing person better, faster, or replace them with some kind of AI? Can I make a lawyer replaced? A lot of people saying lawyers are going to be replaced. I think the only people that think lawyers get replaced are people that aren't lawyers. Right. The way I think about coders.
100%. 100%.
So you need a good lawyer. You don't need to use AI lawyer, but it could create a law firm that has like a really brilliant guy, and he can send out 50 of these kind of agents that do some basic research for him. He still writes the briefs or whatever, but like it goes out and does some stuff so he can review that. And I think that's where you might see people being able to create other companies that they couldn't before, and they can replicate themselves 10 or 12 times, something like that. I think that's the promise. It's not there by any stretch, but that's the promise.
I think for normal folks like that, like nobody has that, like nobody like wakes up in the morning. I wonder how I could use these AI services to create a product that solves somebody else's business. So it's just people either going to be consuming other services. So I think a lot of people will be left behind from the standpoint of actually benefiting outside of it being a service to them that they could use. But in terms of someone like to make money with it, it's going to be the very small pool of people that either understand the technology and understand like the business. So for instance, like for me, like I cannot play this game at the level of like, Nvidia and Microsoft, even from the standpoint of being like some PhD expert that could create new models and whatever and research stuff. But I could, as a developer, look at the services that exist and try to figure out how to stitch them and glue them together to solve a business need for somebody else. But that's still like a smaller level that they're playing on.
Definitely.
And then if you go one level before that, then that's like, if you don't know how to stitch services together to solve a business problem, like you can't build things with it. And so I feel like it is going to, definitely have a huge impact on, like, because every business, they want to make a profit. And if they could automate stuff to get rid of some of the people, they will do it. And so
100%. Yeah.
like, to me, I am curious, like, what does that mean? Like, how do you move forward? And I feel like there's going to be so much money made by these corporations. And then at the same time, they're going to like dictate, what the future holds, unless the government steps in and says like, hey, you need to have a company, for instance, need to be 80% human employed and 20% rely on AI. And if that doesn't happen, like the company will be like, yeah, we don't need humans. Like we don't like, because to me, it's just like, the technology will continue to get better. And at some point, the answer is like, can it replace a human? Or yeah, of course it will replace a human. But what does that mean for us as a culture?
This is where universal basic income comes in, and we all sit home and do nothing, right?
No,
but and then the question comes like, what does that mean to be a human being? Like if you don't have a purpose to do
Who
things.
am I?
Your purpose is now to have fun,
to be a battery.
To be a battery. Right.
That's how Matrix starts. You know what I mean? But like, but I feel like there's got to be like a big question. Like I don't. Like partly like I don't blame these big corporations, because if they don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. They have to win the biggest market share. They have to move the technology. But at the same time, they are getting so far ahead for like the power that they're able to have. It's like corporations going to get to a point, and some people will argue this, where instead of the government telling the corporations what to do, the corporations tell the government what to do.
I think they already do, but like I do think that
you're not helping the argument.
No, they already do.
No, but not at the level that they're be able to. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
I don't know, man. Lobbyists are strong.
Yeah, lobbyists are
They're
strong.
out there.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Have you heard of the World Economic Forum?
Yeah. Oh man.
To Kevin's question, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
No, to Kevin's question, like I don't think it's going to be as accessible as like when the web came out, and any mom can start a blog with no real technical knowledge or anything like that. I think you do have to have a specific amount of technical knowledge in order to utilize like AI to the ability of where you are going to be making money. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be nearly as accessible as the web.
I think so too. I think the pool of people who are making money this time are smaller. That's to Paul's point. It's the companies, it's the people who are developers who could take advantage of it. The every person down the street who just wants to do something with AI that's going to change their life somehow or make money. It's not. They're going to just consume the service, like Paul says. They're not going to be able to build upon the service, I don't think, at least at this point. Maybe that changes.
I agree with you, but that's the promise that they're all saying. Like, you don't need to do this or that. You just type a prompt in and magic comes out. I will say this. If we look at these technology shifts, when we look at the web had very unintended consequences of like everyone could make a website at the end of that thing, where, before you had to be, if you look at 91 to 97, you had to be like a wizard. To do that.
I remember building tables and frames.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then hosting it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it made it accessible to everybody. And then we've gone all the way through 2024 where we still have CMSs. And before, if you own a pizza shop, you can make a website and open your pizza shop. So I think there's going to be some things that happen that people invent. And they're like, well, I didn't see that coming.
Right. And I'm wondering what that's going to look like. Yeah.
Well, if we knew, we would not do.
We would be able to do it, and then we'd make all the money.
But someone that's out there already has these ideas, and they're like every transition creates companies. And if you look at the web basically invented Facebook. I mean, so like if it wasn't for Facebook, people don't know this, but when you think about it, it was invented in 2008, and that's insane when you think about it.
Is,
Like it was just, and then every social media company that we think is big and successful is after that.
Right.
I mean, when you look at TikTok, it is like that thing was made like 2 days ago.
Exactly.
I mean,
Like-
that's that's a young kid on the block, man. So that's why I'm excited about it. I think there'll be $1 billion companies that come out of it. Will they get as big as Nvidia? Probably not, but there's going to be another something that comes out of this. Will be a new sector of whatever they call it, and then we're like, wow, okay, they made $1 billion or 100 million or 50 million or whatever it is, but there's going to be some millionaires made out of this for sure.
Oh yeah,
but it's not going to be majority of the people.
It never is.
It never is. But
yeah,
the point that I'm saying is that in the past there was like more things that people were able to do, and I think like moving forward that pool is going to get smaller and smaller to a point that's like there are basically like a fundamental shift of how society work will have to change. And I'm on the side like we're probably going to have like Elysium in real life. I don't know if you saw that movie, very crazy movie, or like we shift. So like I grew up on the, like, again, I don't want people to mistake this, but like I grew up under like communism in Russia, and like this whole concept of socialism where people have shared services kind of like they use, and it's like everybody shares with everybody. And it seems that moving forward, like the way society is going to be, there's just not going to be like, we all would have to use these shared services, like, like just because majority of the people, and this is far in the future, I don't know how far it is, but like definitely foresee that majority of people will not have a job that they could get, like that they could do. Like, I mean, it's just like what it seems. I don't know how far in the future that is, but like the music thing that you showed today, like that's insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for a majority like of people, that's like, it's good enough. Like I don't need to hire a real artist to do
I
this.
agree. I think a lot of people would be like, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, it's not the best song ever. You probably wouldn't do it on the charts, but I mean,
No,
but that took all of 30 seconds to make. Maybe if I spent more time on it, it would be better.
So the point with AI is that it's only going to get better. And like, the movie industry, they're going to invest a lot. If they could have digital actors and not real actors in someone's likeness, they're going to do it.
I actually saw a really good demo this week. Maybe we'll talk about this next week, but I saw a really good demo of a voice replacement in a scene. So it used a scene and it had cursing in the scene, and they wanted to create a PG version. So they used AI to rewrite the script and have the actor's face digitally changed to say, the non-curse version of the lines. And it was really, really, really impressive. I can imagine like post-production and editing being a whole other ball game. They still have to create the thing and have the scene and do all this stuff. But like little things like for dialogue replacement and those kind of things, AI can handle it. It can do it right now. And it did a really good job at it. You couldn't tell it was AI. It was that good.
So that means I don't have to listen to those bad dubs on Netflix anymore?
No, that was a point. Yeah. No, that was one of the examples they gave, was they took a thing and they redubbed it into a different language with the voice and everything and the mouth movements and everything. And it was legit. It was really good. I'll have to send you guys the link. It was very impressive. So yes, you wouldn't have to, that show from like Norway that has the dubbing on it, the show's great, but the voice is like off sync, whatever. Yeah, you're going to be able to have the English version of it.
Yeah, I always laugh at the dubs because the English version is the dialogue's always off. Like, it's just so weird, like,
yeah.
I just rather watch subtitles, just subtitle it.
Could your future smartphone use nuclear batteries? That is right. Nuclear batteries in your smartphone. So a Chinese startup called Beta Volt is making nuclear batteries now, apparently. I'm not a physicist, so I'm talking about this from more of a consumer standpoint, I guess, more than anything, because there's a lot of science here. But let me talk a couple of science things to start off with. So this is a combination apparently of something called nickel-63, which is a radioactive isotope that decays ultimately into copper. And combine this with a diamond semiconductor, and that decay creates electricity. I guess the decay of the radioactive isotope generates electricity instead of like I don't know, however a normal battery works. It's the reverse, I think. I don't. Again, not a physicist, but anyway, this is promised to be a 50-year battery. The decay takes 50 years from this nickel-63 down to copper, and all that time is generating energy. So this apparently is not exactly new tech. It's been around since the 50s, at least in some variation. The new part here is the combination with the diamond semiconductor and the fact that they can scale it, I guess. So this produces current, doesn't exactly store current like a battery normally stores current. You charge a battery, it then stores it, and you then release it. This just constantly generates power. And can last for 50 years with no recharge is what we're talking about. This is like a perpetual battery, a 50-year perpetual battery. Right now, this is 100 microwatts at 3 volts. So it's not a lot of power is the issue. The goal is to produce a version that is, in 2025, a 1-watt version that can ultimately power, and then go from there, that can ultimately power things like mobile phones and drones. They're talking about having basically a drone that you send up and can sit up in the air for 50 years. A perpetual drone in the air. So that's kind of crazy, but there you go. The issue with this is your average cell phone takes somewhere between 2 and 6 watts. So this battery that's going to come out is a 1 watt. So while we're not at cell phone levels yet, the goal is to get to a cell phone. So what do you think, Paul? Comfortable carrying around a nuclear battery in your pocket? And is it any different than a lithium ion, which we know can literally blow up in your pocket?
Explode.
Thanks, Samsung.
So I have a couple of questions. Number one, is it gonna give me superpowers? If that's the case,
potentially,
like I would love to be like, be able to, have.
You can emerge with the Tesseract, become Captain Marvel.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an unknown at this point.
Or am I gonna have like a third eyeball or a second appendage, the third appendage, whatever? But
second
listen, I can't count to save my life. But also, I like how they start with the phone, but the ideal use case, a drone that's able to autonomously operate for 50 years.
Sounds very Chinese of it, doesn't it?
It does sound Chinese.
Yeah, it's like they're basically building like batteries that could power like T1000, if you haven't watched, or 800, whatever the model is from Terminator 2.
T1000.
T1000, yeah.
Yep.
And so that's what the goal is. I mean, I think, also like,
they're patrolling the border with these drones.
Here's the thing, like when you buy a battery, they're like, it's going to last you, let's say like a month, and there's a cost associated with it. So if it's a 50-year battery span, that's like 50 years worth of other batteries that you could be purchasing. So the price is not going to be like something we're going to be able to afford, It's like,
maybe
it'll be like $1 million for a 50-year battery. Great. What the hell did I need it for?
This is interesting. Your point there, Paul. This is interesting. Like a lot of technologies are converging at the moment, aren't they? So we have like the AI thing pushing one way. We have robots, which we haven't talked about in a minute, but maybe we'll talk about those next week.
Yes.
And then these batteries coming in. Maybe we are at the convergence
of something.
Onto
something. They are definitely. So here's the thing. Like, I love Amazon, right? Let's just say Amazon's greatest service.
Do you though?
But
do you?
Let me tell you. If you came to Amazon right now and you said, listen, we have these 50-year lasting batteries, we have these cheap humanoid robots, and we have an AI OS that could power a whole warehouse with these machines, they're obviously going to lay off all the humans. 1,000%. I think the goal of Amazon is how can we get rid of the human labor so they don't have to take breaks like humans? Like
dumb humans.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have to go to the bathroom or have family issues. Like we don't need that. We gotta have robots.
Unions. Who needs unions?
Yes.
So we have robots.
Like hilarious thing.
Robot that action.
Right. This is what I'm waiting for. Amazon, they bet big on these, nuclear like tinfoil hat on, right? Just before someone thinks I'm crazy. They bet on these nuclear. Thank you. Nuclear batteries. The humanoid robots will be hilarious and like the OpenAI AI to power them robots will be hilarious is if they go big like Nvidia, all these chips, and they create these robots, and the robots become self-aware and all the same issues that come with being a human, like having emotions, having rights. And then it just backfires because it's just like, now it's like, we have these robots that also have rights, but they're much smarter, better, and like we can't control them that well. So, I mean, maybe at the end we'll have the final laugh as pitiful humans that
I think power is one of the last, or I'm not going to say last, but is a giant issue to solve, right? Yeah. It has been for a while. And why battery tech, like in your phone, whatever, is impressively amazing. It really is. But the fact that you can only make an electric car travel so far. It has a range issue, right? The fact that your phone can only last for a couple of days on a charge, like we want it to be like
I know. I'm
or a
like,
day.
dang,
Well,
what
whatever,
what kind of usage are you getting out of your phone?
But we want it to be like, we want to charge it once a week, right? Or once a month, whatever, or never charge it, right?
Never charge it.
I mean, the goal is to never charge it, right? It's like literally to buy a phone
100%.
and never have to charge it. That's the ultimate goal. It's a pain to have to do. So it's a giant problem to solve. I don't know if this is the road that we go down. Nuclear batteries might be the solution. I don't know. But I'm telling you, the next big Nvidia type company is somebody who makes a battery that lasts for 50 years that we do have in phones or wherever, or your car or whatever it is. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. They're a world-dominating company because it's in everything that we use right now. If the power goes out, you have nothing.
Right.
Yeah. You make a great point. We need a good battery. I mean, like when the death-killing machines are chasing you, you don't want to be like in that Terminator 1 movie where it's like trying to get Sarah Connor and then the battery dies and just turns off. That's like you don't want those issues. You want it to work for at least 50 years.
You want it to get Sarah Connor. I mean,
I think like to everything that's happening, I'm like genuinely like excited and scared at the same time to see where the world is going. And I think like if someone told me like, would you want to live back in the 90s or 80s, like when the times were simpler, to be honest, I would still want to live right now because we're literally seeing like something huge happen. And one of the things I remember talking to my grandmother when she was alive is like she went from like seeing horses as main transportation to like living through people going to the moon. Right. And I was like, what are we going to see that's going to be cool? Because I don't care about like moon landing. Who cares? Like, it's probably fake anyway. No, I'm just kidding. Speaking of like the best thing that I saw, like, because my ADG, I'll come back to it. But like being in a time where we're going to see like something cool happen in our lifetime where we could see like, wow, this was like history. Like AI is history changing. Like
it is.
It is insane. And for us to live through it, I think that's kind of
I think it's crazy we're getting to live through too because we've seen the internet too. Yeah, right? I think in our lifetimes, I think the internet and the internet and smartphones. I think you can group all things like smartphones and laptops and under the umbrella of kind of the internet. I know it's hardware and software, but still, the internet being a big thing, we've lived through that. We may live through another one with AI here. We could get two. Most people don't get to see that. They really don't. Not to this scale.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane, and like we're literally gonna see: are we going to thrive as human beings, or Matrix, or Terminator 2, or any one of those dystopian movies gonna come to fruition? And I think to me, it's like living on that edge. It's like, I wonder what's gonna happen.
I think every change we've ever had always led to more employment for more opportunities for people. We haven't had one yet that like, even when they said, "Oh my gosh, factories, what are we gonna do?" Yeah. That's where all the major cities came from. There's a lot of people out there that was crying over that automation. It just increased what people did. Yeah. But I think the same thing will happen in a different way. I don't know what those jobs will be, but they'll be different.
Do you think this one's different than Paul? You have a different feeling?
I do feel it's different because all those still relied on some sort of human labor. And if you could automate like human labor completely, just because you have whatever the way they're gonna do it, it's like there is literally no need for us. Because so I was thinking about like, I always have these weird thoughts, and I was like, if they come up with a humanoid robot that's able to perform same like physical tasks like people do at McDonald's, like shopping places at Amazon, whatever, like how am I like gonna be able to maintain my employment? And so the only thing that I thought of, like the government allows you to subsidize the robots and you pay like a fee and the robot works for you and you're able to get some money from it. Like, because if you couldn't do that, like the big corporations, they don't owe you anything and they could say you're going to have universal, like whatever, but that basically means your whole livelihood is controlled based on the policies that they create. And that's why I'm saying like going into the future, I feel like the scary thought for me is this, that like, right now I'm able to work. Right now I'm not automated out of like a job yet. And I'm not saying it could not happen for the next 100 years, 200 years. I don't think people should like worry like today, but as like a exercise in thought, like that could happen. So it's like, I'm thinking like, what are the only ways I could play and feel like I'm getting the reward of those technologies? And it's literally invest in those companies. That's the only way you can do it. Like unless like, I don't know, like, what are you going to do?
Well, I think it eliminates but less skilled labor and increases more skilled job opportunities. I think what Bobby was kind of getting at there.
That I agree with that 100%. But what is the division of people that are be capable of that high skill level? So there's a book called The Average is Over. It's really old. Some of the parts did not age a lot, but basically what the author predicted is that, and he didn't even talk about so much about this AI revolution at the case that is coming now, but he basically predicted that the job market or sector is going to, the kind of divide is going to grow between unskilled labor to skilled labor, or hyper skilled labor, that majority of the people, they're just not going to have, then there's not going to be enough unskilled roles for them to work at. And so unless you're able to bring your level up, you're in trouble. And what he predicted is, the world changing to where people that are able to partake in the skilled or hyper skilled labor, they're going to live in the cities, they're going to have a certain way of life, but 60% of the population, they're going to have to live in these government subsidized housing because they're not able to afford for the basic needs. And if you take a look at again, tinfoil hat, because I don't want to scare anybody, but if you look at the cost of living and houses and everything else, it's I'm are we heading in that direction? I don't know. I can't predict the future, so I'm just speculating
just
here.
Universal income me and move me to the slums, I guess.
basically that that's what's going to happen. And I know we're being hyperbolic, at least I am, but I think it's a good thought exercise, because I think thinking about these worst case scenarios that are not happening right now, for instance, if somebody wanted to do a certain job, go ahead and do it, go to school, go to boot camp, go because we're that hasn't happened yet. We're just thinking at some point in the future, don't stop your life for something that might not happen, but I think it's good to have these thoughts, because I think it's important to kind of get a consensus, what are the policies around this stuff and human labor, and what does that mean, for companies? And I think I kind of like that idea where a company should be you can only use AI as tools, but not replacements for human workers. So you need to train your human labor to take advantage of the AI tools that you're creating to help you make the profits that you want, but not completely replace, human labor.
I would ask you a question, Paul. Which do you like better, hand-dipped ice cream or soft-serve? I think that's the difference we're going to have,
That's
soft-serve
a
ice
good
cream.
analogy.
I don't know. It's automated. It's cool. It's cheap. But, man, I could go for some Cold Stone right now. If y'all were all around here, that's what we'd go do right now.
So I'll tell you a funny
I'm on board.
I'll tell you a funny thing, and I'll tell you why I didn't jump on this opportunity. But I have video editor for shorts specifically, and there's a cost associated with that service.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because I'm I don't want to make the goddamn shorts, or just pay someone to do it. And the deal is really, really good. And so my friend who likes to troll, he sends me a website which creates shorts, and I hate to say it, they're just as good, good enough than my developer, the person that I pay money to. And he's see, Paul, and he's kind of showing me this. Are you gonna continue paying your editor, or are you going to use the service, which is actually cheaper slightly? And what I came to conclusion no, I'm going to continue to use my editor. And he's why? It's because the thing with this website is that I need to physically log in. I have to physically click add this video, and then I have to go through the process, wait for it to be done, and then I have to be oh, this looks great, let me save it. And my editor, I just have to send them the file and pay him. I don't need to do anything. So done for so he does the thing for me. But the issue here, the more AI stuff we have, it's eventually that pool of people to do the things for you is going to be smaller and smaller and smaller. And so I'm I don't know.
So you chose the hand dipped. That's what you did.
You did hand dipped it. You did it all the way, and he may use AI to do it.
And I told him I wouldn't
and
feel
you'd
bad
still
about
pay
it.
for it.
He might use that too.
So yeah. And I actually told him you should probably use it because it'll make my shorts better. No, but here's the thing though. If I were to a lot of people because the thing that I'm talking about, before people get scared, the world ending scenario, that's so far away because a lot of things need to happen. But what I do see, putting all the kidding aside, there's a lot of people like me that don't want to do the thing. They just want to pay someone money and they don't care if you use an AI service to accomplish the goal.
Correct.
And so I was actually thinking, I'm just going to start a little agency where I'm going to say I'm doing this service myself, but I'm just going to use these AI tools. And that's where the thing is, if you could take a bunch of services and combine them to a thing that people pay money because they don't want to do the thing themselves, like people are going to do that. And so that's how you kind of get ahead, because like people say like, be a developer. And like some people like, I don't want to be a developer. I love making cakes. I don't want to like worry on my website. I want to give you profit from the delicious cakes that I sold, and you deal with that headache. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's what it is.
This is why I don't mow my lawn. I literally have a dude comes out that mows the lawn. I don't want to mow the lawn.
Mine's my 14-year-old son.
There you go. Yeah, kids. I don't. So it's like I got to pay somebody to do it. But I pay the guy way too much, like to mow the lawn compared to I could go buy the lawnmower 10 times over for the amount that I've paid the dude over the years. I seriously could. Or I could buy a robot mower. But to your point, Paul, I won't even buy a robot mower because then I've got to maintain it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to maintain it. I've still got to pay somebody else to maintain it because I don't even want to do that.
But the thing with this, like, because I thought about this more, is if you're living like slightly like above poverty, you can't take advantage of that. And so, for instance,
True.
like when I was growing up, I used to always like cook food at home, like because it's cheaper. And then now, like, privileged to work at a company I work for, like, I'm not like a millionaire, but to buy like a $15 lunch, like I could do that. And to me, it's more economical to buy $15 lunch than to go to the store, buy the food and make the food and spend 2.5 hours or 3 hours of the process that it takes. Because unless I make $15 an hour, me buying that $15 lunch is more economical. And so I think like if people are in a place where they can't leverage their income to pay for services to get back their time, unfortunately, you have to pay for things with your time. And that's why I'm also afraid, like, if the AI services get like so good and we start replacing jobs, is it going to bring that divide between people that actually have income to pay for services that help them like do things?
Well, I think I've brought you full circle now. So I'm feeling like, but first you're like the world's ending, and now you're going to start an AI business.
Ending, bro.
Yeah.
You're going to start an AI business next week.
You're talking to a doomer.
Yeah.
I say, remember his PDoom score.
Yeah, it's like 99 at this point. I'm like, no, but to like all kidding aside, yes, it is true. Like that's how, like I'm trying to, just like you're doing, I'm trying to show the whole gamut of the thought process where people actually don't lose hope, and they're like, no, there's opportunities, there's things we could do, and that's like how we navigate these times.
I think the same challenge we'll have 5 years from now or 10 years or 50 years from now is the same challenge people that are uneducated today have. You have to invest in yourself. You have to skill up, whatever you're doing. And, you know, before we had to learn to read and write. Not everyone knew how to do that. And now that's a requirement, you know, like pretty much you got to be literate to work in the US. You know, so like the skills are going to go up comparative to where they are today, but it'll just be, that's what you got to know, you know, I mean, that's just the way it is. And I think everyone will step up to that challenge, or they'll stay in the poverty level, just like we have today. That
right.
People that aren't educated, they only can do a certain amount of jobs. You know, some people don't want to be, they want to stay at this level because it's easy. Like it's very easy to do. And there's some people that want to get up here, you know, and they're working their tails off to, you know, to do that.
Yeah, I just think
I'm in this camp. I'm trying to get way up here. You know, I'm still like struggling to go up the mountain, but like I'm going to run at it every day.
And I think that's what everybody has to like try to do in their life. And it's obviously like harder said than done. But I feel like the only issue with like some of this AI technology, if you don't develop the literacy to take advantage of it, you're not going to have the opportunity.
I guess, I mean, what we're saying is two things, like the prompts, or they're saying the prompts are going to make it easier to do things. And in some ways they're right. You could become a better marketer than you are now. If you know nothing about marketing, you can use ChatGPT to write marketing messages. Are they great? No, but it's better than what you could do right now. And then you might could get better at it. Yeah. I think, man, graphic designers, this has going to replace graphic designers. I can do it from personal experience, man. Kevin's better at Midjourney than I am. I have messed with that stuff forever. And every time he comes out and makes a car for the Not Know podcast, he's like, yeah, 5 minutes. I just did that. That's because he sees it, visualizes it, and he can write a prompt because he has something in his brain. And some of us are like, I don't know how to do that. Like all you have to do is type the prompt in. I mean, but Yeah, I think a lot of people will skill up, and then there's going to be jobs for people that are creative always.
Yeah,
always, because they're going to use this stuff. They're going to see it, and they're going to make it happen. Like whatever that is, it's just getting easier.
Yeah.
But at least we won't have to change our batteries for the next 50 years.
I know. It's exactly.
Bring it back.
Amazing how this conversation. No, but I think it's really cool to talk about all the different possibilities.
Yeah,
and give
I do like this battery picture. It says "not to dismantle."
Right.
Don't take this battery apart.
Don't try and find the nuclear power inside.
This is where I see it not succeeding, just because like people are so scared of like basically the word nuclear. Like if we can take any data from what's going on with the Stanley Cups, like, I'm not a Stanley girl. I love my Owalas, but people are freaking right the heck out that there's like an itty bitty piece of lead on that, like out, like on the cup, and like freaking out about this piece of lead. You think those people are going to put something nuclear in their pocket? I don't think so.
If
but
Apple sells it to them, they will.
Well, that's true.
Maybe. Well, they put a lithium-ion bomb in their pocket
people.
right now.
That's true.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
But they just don't know.
They just
but
don't,
I agree.
Like the word nuclear. Yes, exactly.
It's the word. Yeah, they don't understand that the lithium-ion bomb is in their pocket right now. Right? Because I mean, you pierce one of those battery things, they literally explode. It's right. It's probably more dangerous than one of these.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. But it's the word. I agree. It's the word. They need to call it something else. Branding needs to be worked on, I think, for this.
Yeah. Don't rely on ChatGPT for this branding.
Not nuclear batteries.
No.
Exactly.
Half-life and nickel. That's
Yeah, exactly.
We're totally
Half-life
not
enabled.
nuclear.
There you go. Half-life enabled.
That's it. Yeah, I like that branding. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about our recommendations for this week then, our nulls and our not nulls. I'm going to jump in first this week, and my not null for this week is I've thought about something that I use all the time, and I thought I have a really good games controller because it's not a standard games controller. I bought this one, which was the Halo Special Edition games controller, which is this one that comes out of the case. This fancy looking one, and it's cool.
Oh, nice.
But it's the Xbox Elite controller. If you're a gamer, look at these Elite controllers. They're heavy. They're made out of metal, not out of plastic.
Oh, really?
Great. Nice. And they come with a whole bunch of like extra attachments, so you can personalize it. So you can change all of the sticks, the heights of the sticks, the grip on the sticks, and the case is a charger as well.
Can you customize it?
I mean, you
so
can.
That it works with my grip.
You could, I guess, if you really wanted to. They're not super cheap, but they're on sale at the moment. You can get for $150, and you can, if you look here too, a couple of things. You can create a custom version of these two, so you can create a fully customized version using the lab. So you can create a custom Xbox Elite controller, all the colors you want.
Does it come in FF99 3B?
Not exactly. I did look.
Okay.
There's not a Coda Foundry orange version exactly.
Cool.
But yeah, they're pretty cool. Definitely interesting. Definitely better than a standard controller. And they have these extra buttons on the back of them too, which if I come up here, look, the extra paddles. So on your standard controller, your buttons, your kind of hands sit behind it and usually don't do anything back there, or you have extra paddles back there. Very cool. Definitely will recommend. Some people don't like these because apparently they've had them break on them. I've had mine for at least 2 years now and never had an issue with it. So
you don't play enough. I've broken 20 of them. I go back to the regular ones.
That's funny. Maybe I just don't play enough then.
But I will say this: the underneath panel, if you have like an alternate grenade option, like typically in Destiny, where you have like an alternate melee, you can put it on here and you can be quick with it.
Yeah,
you just got to get used to it. So
yeah, exactly. Got to get used to changing how you play too. And it has quick triggers too. So these sliders here make these buttons so they don't have to push them all the way in. It's a mouse click basically. Which, if you know about that, it's instant. I don't know. I love them. I think they're great. Like I said, but I've only had one, so maybe I've got lucky. I don't know.
Just don't lose the things when they pop off with magnets. Like where is this?
Yes, the sticks are magnetic. Yeah. Again, I haven't done that. I don't know what you're doing with yours, Bobby.
When you lose, you throw them.
I'm taking him in the bath, though. You're like, cool.
No, you throw them against the couch.
Hold on, that was
that's it. You're rage quitting. I get it. I got it.
Rage quitting. There you go.
These things need to be cheaper. You need a box of them beside your couch.
That's funny.
They're not
so what's
waterproof, are they? Just
I don't think they are.
Somebody brought it up.
Oh man.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so Bobby, what's your recommendation this week?
So we didn't work this in advance. Mine's also called Halo, but it's called the Halo headband. So it's Halo 2 headband.
Okay.
So I've been cycling. I'm on a training program here, and sweat runs down your face and your glasses or whatever when you're cycling. This Halo band seems to work pretty well. So, and for a big sweater like me, and it'll fit under your cycling helmet. And it also, that guy's wearing it wrong. There's a little loop that goes over your ear. It goes over your ear. You don't have to put it on top of your ear. I don't know what he's doing there. But it seems to work pretty well, and it'll fit under a cycling helmet. So and it comes in all kinds of colors. So, if you need to have something.
You got this
cool.
one, right? I mean, you get
the orange. The orange is a little neon, but yeah.
It's a little bright, but there's
get the skull candy. So
patriotic flag.
Get the American flag, baby. Let's go.
Go, baby.
That's funny. Okay, cool. I like it. Sarah, what you got this week?
So I get in these jags where I've got to find the perfect product for what I'm looking for. And recently it was a backpack. I had to find a perfect backpack for me. And granted, it's not going to be for everybody, but my main qualifications was it needed to hold this is a 24-ounce Awala, but I have a 40-ounce Awala that I travel with. And so it needed to hold the 40-ounce Awala in the side pocket. And so I got this North Face Recon. These side pockets are super amazeballs. Totally enough room for 40-ounce. It has a nice padded area for my laptop. And it's really sturdy here. And then it's got some soft sections for your phone and stuff like that. So it really, and it could fit my stuff. Yeah. So I'm loving it. It's perfect. This is my new travel backpack.
I like it. You know what's crazy about this? I have the first generation of this backpack. I have this version. I have this version right here. I think it's slightly. It's an older version of it. It has it's just different. It's the same. It's the same Recon. It's the same Recon. They've just developed it and made it different, I guess, over the few years.
Yeah. Comes in orange. Look at that, man. It's got orange.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not right in the middle there on the top row.
This one?
There you go. It's brownish.
It's more brown. Yeah.
Oh, well.
I will tell you, mine has lasted maybe a decade so far.
Yeah.
And I still use it.
I'm super happy
I haven't found a better one yet.
Yeah.
I still use it. It's never broken on me. A zipper's never broken. A fastener's never broken. It's still great. If anything, it gets dusty in the cupboard these days until I go on a trip somewhere. I still take it on every trip I go on.
Yeah. I researched 10 different backpacks. I was really invested in finding exactly the right one.
Awesome. A pretty good price too. But
not bad. I got mine. So so I think it was I have a women's Recon, so it might be just that might be
slightly different.
Yeah.
It has pink on it.
It does have pink on it. I kind of like the color.
I like the color.
Yeah. And but I got mine for $72.
Wow. That's
on
a steal.
Amazon. Yeah.
For something that's going to last that long, it really is.
Yeah. I was super
stoked. That's amazing. Yeah. Very cool. Okay, Paul, what you got this week?
You know what? I was going to complain, but I'm just going to say I have a not null. Dune Part 2, excellent movie. I loved it. If you haven't seen Dune Part 2, definitely check it out.
I haven't watched it
The
yet. Crazy
thing that I'm going to say, because I read the books, but I read them a long time ago. And I remember as a kid watching the 1980s Dune. And the story for me was a story of a hero doing his thing, and Paul Atreides, And then rewatching Dune 1 and then taking a break and watching Dune Part 2, you realize something. Maybe he's not the hero. Maybe he is. You got to go watch the movie. But it's very, very interesting. I actually don't know anymore. I got but
you forgot.
No, I know the answer. But it was kind of interesting to see that as being more grown and not being as naive about stuff, and it's just kind of cool and amazing movie, very well done. I'm glad. That's another thing that I'm glad that I lived in a generation where they made a proper remake for Dune 1 and 2. 100 recommend highly. highly.
So there's going to be a part 3 of this, right? And it's a trilogy.
There is.
So there is that. It's just 3 parts.
Yeah, it's going to be a trilogy because to make the rest of the movies, the books is pretty insane. If you want to read insane stuff, like read the rest of the Dune books. But even if third one doesn't come out, I think 1 and part 2, like it's a full closure story. It's like it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it doesn't answer every question, but like by far, this is the best movie of the year by a landslide.
Go see it.
And if you don't go in theaters, you need to see this in IMAX.
Yes.
I mean, this is like, in my opinion, this is like Lawrence of Arabia good. Like, as far as like the epic wides and that kind of stuff, is just beautifully shot. It's great. Phenomenal movie.
I did finally make my Dune quad.
Oh, that's sick.
There you go.
That's sick. Nice.
Very cool. And the wings do come out. But they do. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh,
it's big. It's kind of long.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Needs a nuclear battery.
yeah.
It does. Yeah, it needs a battery. This was my this was one of my previous not knows, and yeah, I did get it and build it, and it's very cool. It's a big Lego. But yeah, that's I've watched. I like the first Dune. I really did. I haven't seen the second one yet. I just don't go to movies anymore, really. So
go to IMAX, man. See it while you can.
Really good movie.
I'll wait till it's on HBO.
Oh, that's not IMAX.
Are you seriously like are you trolling? Or
Bobby's gonna go.
Nah, I'll wait till it's on. I'll wait till it's on HBO. I have a nice TV.
Bobby's gonna go beat you up.
It's close to IMAX.
It's close.
75er.
All right. If you have the super awesome,
I do have a nice setup here. Yeah, but yeah, it does look good. Is there a reason that it's just called Dune Part 2 and it's gonna be Dune Part 3? Is that just how the books were called? The books is one book, right?
So there was one. The story of Dune 1 and 2 is the first book. And then there's a second book called Dune Messiah, and that's going to be like the third, movie, part 3.
Oh, so you think the third movie could be called Dune Messiah? Then
I think it is going to be called
Dune
Messiah.
Because part 1 and part 2 is just think of better names. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just because if they made it the movie, I think it's kind of cool. The reason why they did part 1, part 2, and why they took some time, because. You got to watch it. I'm not because it'll spoil a little bit. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
I really did like the first one. The soundtrack on the first one was amazingly
unbelievable.
good.
Yeah, you're gonna like this one for sure. Like it's really good. So.
Cool. I will check it out when it's on HBO.
Oh my god.
Or Max, whatever we're calling it these days.
By the way, I was
twice in
say,
IMAX already. So.
Oh god, HBO.
Sorry, Paul.
They canceled all my favorite shows. HBO canceled all my favorite shows. So every time you say HBO, you literally dig in the knife in my heart. There's this amazing show called Raised by Wolves. And
I like that show. That's a good
we're
show.
never going to get the final part. Never going to happen.
But I agree. Yeah.
I hate HBO.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us until the end here. A couple of things I can ask you to do. Please let a friend know about the podcast. That would be much appreciated. Or you can leave a rating or a review somewhere. That would also be appreciated. You can also drop us an email. Where can they drop the email to, Sarah?
The Not Null Podcast at AOL.com.
And we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Tune in every week to the Not Null Podcast. Listening to the hosts as they share their minds so fast. They tackle tough topics with humor and insight. Their voices like a soothing balm, bringing comfort in the night. Oh, not enough. You speak to my soul with your stories and your wisdom. You make me feel whole. With laughter and tears, you touch my heart. Thank you for the moments, for being apart. From interviews with guests to their own personal tales, the Not Null Podcast, it never ever fails to inspire and uplift, to make me laugh and think. I'll keep listening as long as the Not Null